Pressed.
Okay, Perry.
Question number 1.
We're going to talk about Heather from the time we knew she was coming to present day, and what are 3 qualities that stand out the most to us about her, and what are some of our favorite stories about Heather. So, I guess maybe I'll just kind of go first, and then you can just...
I'll chime in when I need to.
Will you chime in?
I will.
Please, would you chime in?
I will.
When I knew Heather was coming, I was a little frightened because Michelle was going to be a single parent, and I was a little afraid for her and how she was going to handle that. But one thing I knew about Michelle, as usual, is she always landed on her feet. So I had to just have this innate faith that everything would turn out just fine. And so then I had to switch my head on to, oh my gosh, we're becoming grandparents for the very first time. And it was very, very exciting. I just knew that it would be my chance in life to become the best grandparent on the planet, because I was so excited to become a parent, and now it was going to be a grandparent, which was way more fun. And it was a little girl on top of that. So I was just absolutely thrilled. And so there we were, and Michelle was living with us at the time. And so then it was, okay, it was time to get ready for Heather, which we did a lot of. I don't know if you remember this part.
Oh, yeah, but yeah, getting the room ready.
Yep, we stenciled her room with little pink bunnies all around the ceiling and beautiful crib, and I sewed an amazing bassinet cover skirt. It was just absolutely to die for, beautiful. One of the prettiest things I think I ever made. And we just couldn't wait for Heather to arrive. And then she finally did arrive. And I think everybody and their brother was at the hospital when Heather finally arrived. The halls, up and down the halls, waiting for her to be born. It was just lined with people. And it was really a fun event. And then she was finally there. And I remember seeing her for the first time. And here was this little tiny baby, Heather style, just as this quiet, tiny little baby, just looking up and seeing everybody, and just being very, very quiet and just looking around. She was just this sweetest little thing, and very, very quiet, and just looking. She didn't do anything except just quietly look. And that was Heather's style. And it was like she was just dropped from heaven into this huge waiting family that just couldn't wait to have her. It was like this perfect match. It was pretty cool. So what do you remember?
Well, unlike you, maybe, I had no doubt that Michelle would do fantastic as a single mom or any kind of mom. Just knowing her and spending, she was living with us and working with me, I had no doubt that she would do a fantastic job, just like she's done. So, and as Heather came along, other than she was a girl instead of a boy, that was fine. And when she was little, I loved doing, just sitting and holding her. It was unbelievable.
I know, she seemed to be all yours. I don't know how that happened. Here I thought, oh, a little girl, how exciting. And somehow she ended up to be all yours.
I had the touch. I could keep her calm when she was crying.
Yep. Well, one of the stories, and we'll talk about stories, but one of the stories that I think was the most fun about Heather was she was just a very calm, sweet baby who she didn't hardly ever cry. And the Sunday ritual, well, all of us, it was always whose turn was it to get Heather up, because we all lived in the same house, and Heather would hardly cry when she woke up, and it was like, okay, whose turn is it to go get her up? And Perry always would win out. Grandpa would always win out, and he would go and get her up, and then Michelle would change her diaper and do whatever she needed to do, and then Grandpa would always just set her on his lap and just rock her and just look at her. It was just the cutest thing ever. And then when she got a little bit older, Sunday morning, he would turn on music in the living room, and we had kind of a formal living room at that point in our house on First. And Heather would just stay with Grandpa in the living room, and she would just dance and dance and dance. That's all she wanted to do, was stay in the living room with Grandpa and dance and listen to music. And they'd do that for hours. So somehow she just belonged to Grandpa. She could care less about any of the rest of us.
No, I don't think that's
It seemed like it. She was just yours. But that was just very sweet. So that was our Sunday morning ritual with Heather. And let me see, what were the three things that would describe Heather, if you had to describe her? Because she's an adult now.
very loving, caring, considerate, go way beyond to help us in any way she can. You know, that's a fantastic granddaughter.
She is, as an adult. She's completely just precious. And she's an amazing artist. And I found that out with her baking. And I love the way she loves everyone. She just loves with her entire body and soul. And that's just the way Heather is. She's just an incredible human being. And I think she's got the sweetest heart that walks this earth. So those are the things I think of when I think of Heather.
Yeah, she got lucky too and picked a good husband.
She did. How she found Stephen is just a miracle. When you go online, which so many people do these days, and she finally found the perfect guy, and she was just so fortunate. But he's kind of the same kind of person that Heather is, so it's pretty cool. So I guess then Tammy said she was never having kids. When Michelle found out she was pregnant, Tammy said, "I'm never having kids." Here she sat in the hospital while Heather's giving birth, and at the time, I don't think she knew, but she was pregnant with Adrian. And so then there was Adrian. And
Finally, a boy.
Boy, were we excited in our life to have a boy. And he was the sweetest little baby on God's green earth. And to have a boy, we were so thrilled. And I can just remember the entire family coming over when Adrian was born, Andre's family and our family when Adrian came home. And he was a little tiny thing, and he was short, just a little teeny weeny baby. And he was not as quiet as Heather. He was a little more vocal. And he would cry. And every time he cried, Tammy would shove a bottle in his mouth because she thought, oh my God, that's what I have to do. She was fumbling around with Adrian. Heather knew Michelle knew what to do with Heather, and Tammy didn't have a clue what to do with Adrian. She was really a nervous mom and just like, oh my God, what do I do with this crying thing? Thank God for Andre, because he was there and he just jumped right in and took care of Adrian. And I'll never forget Adrian's first little bath, well, mini baths at our house. But Andre would just take over Adrian and tell Tammy, go sit down. I'm taking care of this kid. she stood next to Andre while he bathed Adrian, but Andre kind of taught Tammy what to do with a baby, because Tammy wasn't she wasn't having it. She just had a terrible time with Adrian, and Andre he had a very calming effect with Adrian, and he would bathe him, and Adrian would just look up at his dad, and he was so happy, but he could feel the calm right through his hands. It was really interesting to watch. And so Andre spent a lot of time at our house taking care of Adrian. And so it was pretty cool. And then, of course, he got older, and I hurt my back when I think Adrian was about 4 months old, which was a terrible thing. That was, the timing couldn't have been worse. Here I had my first 2 grandchildren, and that's when I hurt my back. So, of course, some of my memories are pretty foggy around that time. But I do remember a lot of the fun things that Adrian did with you.
Yeah, we did. As soon as he got old enough to walk and talk, then, we're buddies.
You guys were buddies. And I'll never forget, he wasn't very old. And he was old enough to stand up next to you, driving in your truck. You'd drive, and Adrian would stand up next to you. God forbid if Tammy ever knew that. Well, she never did at the time, thank God. And he'd put his arm around your neck, and you'd turn the radio up when Boot, Scoot, and Boogie would come on. And the 2 of you would just sing your hearts out, Boot, Scoot, and Boogie. Yep. Adrian loved that song. And Tammy was having a heart attack because she only listened to R&B, and you were corrupting her little baby boy.
Turn him into a cowboy.
You were trying, and she was so upset about it. And Adrian was so happy, riding around in your big truck and singing Boot, Scoot, and Boogie. Oh, my God. That was the best thing in the world. And as he got a little bit older, he and Heather would come, and we eventually moved over here to Eastern Washington. And Adrian and Heather would come over and spend weeks at a time with us. And they were little. And Adrian was fine during the day. He would have more fun over here, well, both he and Heather, because we built them a kid wonderland. They had, you built them a treehouse, a swing set, a sandbox, and those kids were just in absolute heaven over here. But when it came nighttime, Adrian wanted his mom, and we just couldn't get him calmed down. And he would cry, and he would cry, and he would start going, and he was so upset. The only one that could calm him down was you. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
We'd put him in bed between us, and it would take a long time, but you could finally get him calmed down. Oh, that poor little guy. I felt so bad for him. But you could get him calmed down. And one other thing I would always want to say about Adrian was he could always tell how much pain I was in. We'd have family parties, and everybody would be off doing whatever they were doing. And I would be in a corner, and not that people were ignoring me, but you know how people just are busy doing partying. And I might be in a lot of pain, and Adrian always knew it. He was always tuned into me and how I was doing. And he would come over, and he would say something to me. He was little when he would do this. And he would say, "Grammy, are you in pain?" And I would say, "Well, yeah, sort of." And he would just sit right next to me, and he would pat my hand, and he wouldn't leave. He would just stay there and sit next to me. And what can I get for you? And what can I do for you? And he was very empathetic. He just was going to take care of me. So he really had a sweetest side to him. So if we had to describe Adrian and say 3 things about him, how would you describe him?
Well, kind of ditto as same as Heather. I mean, he's very caring, loving, hardworking.
Yeah, he is.
Very responsible. Shows a lot of respect for everything around him. So, that's, he's just
He's a
one of
good,
those kids you can't, Tammy did a super job, so.
she did. She did an amazing job raising him, and he has an incredible work ethic, and he's just very family oriented. He loves his family. He's very helpful and trustworthy. He's a great kid.
Yep.
Great kid. Maybe someday he'll find someone to love and have a family, but he doesn't talk about it. He hasn't found that person yet. And I know the secret why. And then there was Kalia. And this is a story in itself. I remember Tammy telling us she was pregnant, and Adrian was 9 years old. And Kalia was a big surprise even to her, and she couldn't figure out why. At the time, she was, I forget the exact job title she had, but she was teaching young girls how not to get pregnant. It was hysterical. And then she finally figured out that she was taking an antibiotic, which will knock out the effect of your birth control pills. And she ended up getting pregnant with Kalia. And everything was going along fine until one night she and Michelle were doing some, and it's fuzzy to me, they were doing some parent night to let parents go away and have a night out, and they would take care of,
They were babysitting the kids.
babysitting kids, only it was part of their job. And it was an autistic boy who was a big child. He was like 9 or 10, and he kicked Tammy in the stomach. And she lost, I believe it was like 80% of her water. And so she went to the doctor the next day, and the doctor said, "Oh my word, you're going to have to abort this baby. I'm going to send you to a specialist." So she did. And the specialist said the same thing, that your body will naturally abort this baby, and if it doesn't, then we're going to have to do a clinical abortion. And Tammy was just beside herself because she just found out that Kalia was a little girl. And of course, oh my God, she was in seventh heaven. And so I was there at the time when she came home from that doctor appointment, and she came home just sobbing. And she was sick that day too, on top of it. And I can remember going in the bathroom with her. I don't know what made me say this, but I did. And I just said, she's got her head over the toilet because she's feeling like she's going to puke. And I just patted her on the back, and I just said, "Tammy, doctors don't know everything." And I don't know what possessed me to say that, but I did. And how I had this innate faith that everything would be all right, I just did. And Tammy didn't speak. She didn't say anything. She just listened. And so as time went on, her body did not abort. And the doctors were telling her that this baby would not be right. There's no way without water. And Tammy, just for some reason, had faith, and she said she wasn't going to abort it. So they said, "Well, if you insist on going through with this, then we have to send a nurse out once a week to give you shots to make the baby's lungs progress." So they did that, and I stayed with her for quite a while. And I said, and my back was very bad at the time, and I said, "Well, I might not be able to do a whole great deal for Adrian because I had to get him up and get him ready for school, and Tammy was on complete bed rest at the time." I said, "If I have to feed you peanut butter sandwiches for dinner, that might be all you get, but I will help you out in any way I can." So I was staying with her for quite a while. And then the doctors ended up telling her that she had to go in the hospital at, I believe, 25 weeks, 24 weeks. And they said, if you start to have any problems, don't go to the hospital because they will try to save any baby, and you don't want a baby that's going to be on the short bus, believe me. So they just really warned her. So they said once she got to 26 weeks, a baby would be viable. And so they put her in the hospital at 26 weeks to try to get her to 30 weeks. Even then, all the pediatricians were telling her, this baby's not going to be all right. They really wanted to drum it through her head that she was not going to have a normal child. And that was the most stressful thing in the entire world. And I'd signed up for going into the delivery room. God knows why I thought I would do that with her when it was time. So she sat in that hospital room for a month. And she ended up with diabetes, and they had to put her on a special diet. But anyway, everybody went and visited her, and so all she kept hearing all the time was, this baby's not going to be okay. This baby's not going to be okay. Then on the exact day, they were trying to get her to 30 weeks. On the exact day that it turned 30 weeks, she went into an emergency delivery. And her friend Donnell was a nurse. And at the last minute, I backed out and said, I can't go in. There's no way I can go in. I was terrified. So Donnell went in the delivery room with Tammy, thank God. So they did an emergency C-section. And Kalia was perfectly fine. There was nothing wrong with her other than being a preemie size. She was 2 pounds, 14 ounces or something like that. Very, very preemie size. And they hooked her up to whatever they had to, but she wasn't on like a ventilator or any of that. They hooked her up to oxygen, but not a ventilator. And we were all completely stunned. And so were the doctors. It was like, there is a God, and he just swooped down and delivered this perfectly normal little baby. And she was preemie, but she was just fine. And no one could believe that this just happened. So, of course, Kalia had to stay in the hospital from October 21st, which was her birthday, till the beginning of December. I forget when they let her come home. It was before Christmas. But I couldn't believe how fast they pumped this little baby up. They force-fed her and pumped her up. But she was so tiny, she fit in one of those little tiny throw-up tubs at the hospital. There's pictures of this. But it was like, she's just this little angel. Well, unbeknownst to us at the time, her doctor, because it was an emergency C-section, saw some tissue that she didn't like when she delivered Kalia. And she sent it out to be tested. And I don't know if she even told Tammy when she did it, because none of us knew about it. Well, she sent the tissue out, and come to find out, Tammy had ovarian cancer. So, it's just hard even after all this time. So we've always thought of Kalia as our angel, because she saved her mother's life. And they did a complete hysterectomy a few days later. And Tammy didn't have to have any chemo or radiation. But had it not been an emergency C-section, we never would have found it. So just the way everything happened. Kalia was just a miracle baby. She was an angel.
Still is.
She has been her whole life. In every direction that kid goes, she's an angel. And there's just so much more to her. And now she's 22. We still have her, and we still have Tammy. And we're so fortunate. To have them both. And Kalia and I used to watch Cinderella. Only she used to call it Cinderella. And it was so funny. She was always a little spitfire. She was a little character. And everybody knew how bad my back was. And so Tammy would get all the quilts, we'd lay them on the floor. And I think Kalia and I watched Cinderella probably 150 times. But every time, Kalia would get it all ready too. She'd help her mom put blankets on the floor and put pillows on the floor to make Grammy comfortable. And she'd work very, very hard at it. And she'd check and she'd say, okay, the blankets are here, the pillows are here. Mom, we have to have popcorn. So she'd ask her mom to make a bowl of popcorn for us. And then we'd get all settled down, and she'd make sure I had my glasses so I could see. And get all cozied down on the floor to watch Cinderella, and she'd start sniffing, and she'd go, she'd sniff some more. Uh-oh, and she'd jump up, and she'd run in the bathroom, and she'd get my deep heat. She knew just by everything was there, except she knew I didn't have any deep heat on my back, and I might need it during the movie. So she didn't smell it when we laid down. She knew that one thing was missing, and she'd run and get the deep heat for me, and I'd have to put deep heat on my back before we could start the movie. Oh my God, she was so funny. So I'd put deep heat on my back, and then we'd hit play, and we'd watch Cinderella over and over and over. We had so much fun watching that movie. Oh, that child. She's brought us absolutely nothing but joy from the day she was born. She still is.
That's right.
She can't do enough for us. Even though Perry and I are old and can hardly get around, she just cannot do enough. So, anyway, those are our grandkid stories. They're all just amazing children. Aren't they?
Yep, now we're waiting for great grandkids.
We are.
Start all over again.
Well, hopefully that's to come.
Yep, we'll see.
Yeah. And then there's Stephen that Heather met online. And he is just a sweetheart. And we didn't really get to see too much of him before they got married. But Stephen, Heather kept telling us how much he is like Grandpa. Grammy, he's just like Grandpa. He's very masculine. He's just like Papa. And so we kind of had to watch that evolve. But he is. He's a guy's kind of guy. And through having to plan the wedding about 5 times, we're over here in Eastern Washington and they're on the other side. We really didn't get to know Stephen too much until he came for the wedding. And they just had a beautiful, beautiful wedding here. And Stephen is just, the way he loves Heather is so beautiful. He just absolutely adores her. And she's his life. And it's just so beautiful to watch that they both feel that way about each other. And you don't see that every day. But they're just a perfect match. I couldn't be more thrilled for both of them. So he's just nothing but a big sweetheart, a big softie. And he's just very, very kind to us. Because Heather loves us so much, he's extremely kind to us. So we're very fortunate in that regard. Some people would go, "Oh, I don't want your grandparents to stay with us," and Stephen can't open the front door wide enough for us. So we're very thrilled. What do you have to say about it?
Just ditto, same thing. I mean, yeah, very, very nice guy. You know,
Yeah, he is.
Very, very much like Heather. So good pair.
Yeah, they are. Okay, the next thing I have on my list, I've got quite a list here going,
Oh,
Mr.
good for you.
Aren't you so happy I have a list? What words of wisdom would you want to leave with your grandchildren? Do you have words of wisdom?
I think we've already seen all the wisdom that we have given them.
Have we been talking about wisdom here?
Talking about how hardworking they are, how respectful they are to other people in their lives and jobs, and how successful they've become, and all of them. So
That's your words of wisdom. My words of wisdom are,
you tell them.
you want me to tell them that they can achieve whatever they want to in this lifetime if they want it bad enough.
That's right.
And they have to act on it. Lots of people talk about what they want, but they don't do anything about it. And it's the doing that will get you there. So that's just kind of my few words of wisdom is you have to do. And those are my words. And your words were, it goes by too fast. That's what you told me last night.
Enjoy life now, because you never know how much of it you got. Whether you're alive or physically able to do anything, it's try to enjoy everything you can when you're younger.
Yep. We kind of found that out the hard way.
As long as you can afford it, do it.
Yep. Don't wait till you retire to have a good time. Have fun along the way.
Yep.
The next one is, what is something you want to make sure all your grandkids know about you? And what I want, we each had something very different. What I wanted our grandkids to know about me was that they all are my most precious gift in life. Kids and grandkids, there isn't another gift in the world that would mean anything to me other than them. They're all my most precious gift. And do you remember what yours was?
I think it was keep the family together. The family is the most important part of the whole thing. We all get along and actually like each other. So.
And yours was to have fun.
Yeah, have fun too.
You always take the light side of things, which is funny about you. You don't always show it, but you always like to take the light side.
Yep, I agree.
And make life fun. And
Yep.
we all like that about you.
Yep.
Next question was the funniest one. What was the biggest difference between raising kids versus raising grandkids? And I said, with kids, we had to work hard instilling rules and values with our kids. With our grandkids, it was just all about fun. I can remember with Heather and Adrian when they come to the cabin, and they would be just stunned because they would always try things. And I would surprise them by saying yes. They would say, "Grammy, can we have ice cream for breakfast?" And I would say, Sure. You can eat your growing food later. You can have ice cream for breakfast. And that was you.
I said, well, the one nice thing about the difference between raising our kids and them and grandkids is when we were tired of them, we just send them on home. You know, couldn't do that to your own kids, but okay, time to go home. Go home, visit mom, let mom and dad take care of them.
Yep, that's a big difference. Okay. What makes you the most proud of each of your grandkids?
I think I've covered that all the way along the line here.
I think you have.
Everything about them that's made me proud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just, I put down that they are following their own paths, doing what they want to do in their life, and they're not following anyone else's path, and they have the courage to follow their own path. And that's very important to me, because there are a lot of people out there that feel pressured, whether it's from their parents or their grandparents or who knows who, to follow what someone else thinks they should do. And I think that our grandchildren follow their own path, and I think our kids have to follow their own path and do what they want to do in this lifetime. And they both have the courage to do what they want to do without anyone else's influence. And I'm very proud of that.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
For all of them.
I have to agree with all of that.
I just think it's fabulous that they do that. Okay, the next one is, what's one special recipe that I would want or make sure that I would pass down to our kids and grandkids? And this one kind of leaves Adrian out. This is a double whammy. Mary's Sugar Cookies, which is one of our Christmas cookies, because everybody has so much fun. Even Adrian likes to eat them. When we've gotten together on many occasions and the girls make those cookies, Adrian's always right there after they're done decorating them, eating them. So he does love those cookies. But he also likes barbecued meatballs, which is a special recipe, family recipe too. And then the next question, Perry, is, what's one skill that you would want to pass on to your grandchildren?
Skill?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Laughing.
Huh? Laughing, having a good time.
That's a skill.
That's a skill. I mean, you have to enjoy life.
The ability to see the fun.
The fun part of life.
That's right. And
I don't know
think
about that's a skill or not.
Yes, it is. It's an amazing skill.
Okay.
I think it is. Because some people don't know how to laugh at things. They don't know how to laugh at themselves or anything else. And I think that's an incredible skill.
Okay.
Okay.
I pressed stop.
What do you think?
You two are so adorable when you do these things. I love how Perry's like, yeah, I already answered that.
I think I did it. I think I already answered that.
Yeah, this one was especially touching though, because you got, your little sadness came through there, but then you came back and started laughing about the Cinderella things, and that was a sweet story. Yeah. So that was cute, and
good.
Perry's less talkative, but what he says, I think, is going to really matter to the people who are listening to this. So.
Oh, good. I hope so.
Yeah, because when I think I listen to you and I'm typing as you guys are talking, and I'm always thinking to myself, what are Heather and Adrian and Kalia going to think when they listen to this, and
yeah.
to have their grandpa saying that.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Are you okay, sweetheart?
I just think it's going to be really special for them to have that.
Oh, it will be. It will be, and I know. I know where all of this is coming from, and I wish you had it.
Well, I just know that, it's going to be a lot to them that you
It
guys
will.
that you guys did this. So,
It's going to mean a lot to everybody.
yeah.
Everybody. And for you to do this for us all is incredible. And we all appreciate it so much. Well, they will. When they...
I mean, it's different to read it than to hear it.
Yeah.
They're going to hear Perry's voice, Grandpa's voice, saying how
Right.
proud he is of them and how loving and caring and considerate they are and how they go way beyond to help us in any way they can. I mean, to hear Perry saying that
Right.
is different than reading it,
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, what's interesting is those kinds of words don't come out every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's going to be very, very special. And I'm just so excited. Very excited.
Yeah.
But I still have the music to find.
Well, all you have to do is tell me like the names of songs or music or whatever, and I'll get the music. I can get the music.
Okay.
And then
Well,
what I was
have to
gonna
talk to Alexa.
I was gonna
Yeah.
just record little snippets,
Yeah.
and put them on QR codes and just put them in little next to pictures. So
Yeah.
and I'll talk to you about that when I get the pictures. So when I get the pictures, I'm going to put them on pages, and then I'm going to put little recordings of different songs that would go with that time period that you would have played during that time,
Right.
So like the picture that you sent of you and Perry when you were, oh my gosh, you look like little kids in that picture. So darling.
Don't we?
Yeah, but like what was the favorite song that you listened to at that time? And I can record a little piece of it, and then I can put it on a QR code next to the picture.
Yeah, that'll be fun. But we listened to so many at that time. Do you remember exactly which ones? We don't. So that's why we got to do Alexa and listen to some of them to remind us.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so we're going to do that. So the music is the next thing I need to do, and get more pictures.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, we've got time. I'm gonna now that I have all of the dictated stories and everything, I'm gonna start weaving them into the book, and then I have the picture of the cover and the title. So I'm gonna get all that together, and then I have all the recordings. So now I just make the QR codes, and so then once I get the pictures, that's easy. I just drop them in.
Okay, cool.
Mhm.
Because now I've got to go to my extra hard drive, because I went through the pictures I have here, and I have very few. And
Oh,
I
okay.
thought I had more here, the old ones, but I don't. So all the rest of them are ones that I have, on the computer. So now I just have to go through the computer and then talk to Alexa, and that'll be it.
Okay, and I think just so that you know what I'm working with, today's the 29th. I think I should probably get everything from you no later than like November 12th. So we have about
Okay.
2 weeks.
Okay,
Just to
so
make
it won't
sure
take-
that I can
it
get-
won't take me that long.
Okay, it's just to make sure that I can get everything, because then I'll spend that weekend dropping the pictures in and stuff, and then I'm gonna just send it. I'm gonna send it off to publishing. I'll show it to you. So over that weekend, I'll probably do you have access to Zoom?
No, I don't know how to do that.
Okay. I'll probably
Is it
take
hard?
pictures.
Is it hard to do Zoom?
No, you can do it on an iPhone. Do you have an iPhone?
We don't have iPhone? I guess not. I don't know what kind of phone.
Well, I can always take pictures of it, and then you can, say, oh, no, I don't want that picture there. Like, I'll do the best I can in putting them in like an order. And then you can tell me, like, oh, I want that picture moved or what have you.
Anna Marie, I can't imagine I wouldn't love whatever you do, sweetheart.
Okay.
I'm not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll do just beautiful.
Okay.
I have no doubt.
Okay. Okay. And then I'll just send it, and I'm going to have enough copies printed that everyone has one. So you and Perry will get one, Heather and Stephen will get one, Michelle will get one, Tammy will get one, Kalia and Adrian.
Oh, that would be so cool.
So I'll have that many books printed, and then I want to have that sent off by the 15th to make sure that they're coming in by the 25th before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Well, I'm going to get on my next order of business.
Okay.
Music and pictures, and I will get them to you. And I'm trying not to take very much time because I know you're under the gun, and I'd rather have you have them sooner than later.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
Did we do okay?
You guys did great.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
You guys have a good night.
Thank you. Well, thank you again for doing this. I'm just so pleased and so tickled, and I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be. And it'll be a surprise for you and Perry to see it all put together, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Which will be
absolutely.
which will
I
be
have
fun.
no doubt.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,